who goes on ESPN and talks about sports and is one way when he's on ESPN, but when he goes on Tucker, he creates moments like this. Take the video.
Who should be most worried tonight? Is it Bill Clinton? Is it Prince Andrew?
Would Trump be worried then? Would Elon? It's just, I get it. I get it.
Any and all things that will scoop up this little audience of people who are disaffected, disenfranchised, negatively affected by the Biden economy, whites. And they're just like, it's fine, you're okay. Tucker Carlson on his own show, I've pulled this clip for yesterday's show where he basically says, listen, America's obese. They're attacking you for being obese, but it's not your fault. Because why? You would never guess. Because they made America stop smoking, those woke schmucks.
Yep.
It is always convincing people that it's not their fault, they're the victim. And the real true perpetrators of terribleness and making America worse again is people who are playing the victim.
Exactly.
Horrible.
Yeah, you're not responsible for anything, and you're also the party of personal responsibility at the same time. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of them, and there's a cousin to it, which is the independent right-wing news guy who they're all the same person. They're all being Ben Shapiro. You've got your fake Tucker Carlson, your fake Ben Shapiro. They're all terrible. They're all being paid by the same people. Good garbage person.
Thank you.
For my garbage person of the year, I decided very consciously to not do the same person that I did for my jerk of the year, because I feel like jerk of the year and garbage of the year are sort of different things. So I chose someone who is less a jerk in the way that Tucker Carlson, my jerk of the year, was, and is more just such a garbage person and a person who will make America garbage again. I feel like this is the person that if they succeed and proliferate, a country cannot stand, and that is Majorie Greene. She is the ultimate garbage person because she's supporting the same ends as a lot of the more clever, the Tucker Carlsons and stuff like that. But she's more authentically just a crazy random person who loved QAnon and somehow became a congressperson, mostly. Like, she's not on committees, she's really not a congressperson, but she's there. And so she spent the year doing things like touring with Matt Gaetz when literally no one else would be seen with him. She was doing America First rallies with him. She was always there to make sure that as many people got COVID as possible, tweeting that face masks are useless napkins. She literally doesn't think that masks stop germs. That COVID vaccines aren't even 50% effective when that's not remotely true. When asked about whether she was vaccinated, she claimed that that was a violation of her HIPAA rights. She's just an incurious, ignorant person. She also compared being asked to get vaccines to being a Jewish person under Nazi Germany, which is fun. But then also in the garbage area, she groped a cardboard cutout of like a badly photoshopped version of Donald Trump to make him skinnier on stage. Spent the year defending the Capitol rioters as being totally innocent. Is also said that the election is stolen. She's 100% down for the big lie. And now she has begun this conversation about the national divorce, which is just another civil war. So overall, she's like the ultimate example in the same way that Brett's garbage person was this avatar for that type of news person. She's an avatar for a sort of superstitious, incurious, ignorant, random person who now has power in some form because we're all awful and we want awful. So why wouldn't there be Majorie Greenes and Lauren Boeberts and Paul Gosars and all of that? So that is my garbage person of 2021, Majorie Greene.
Yeah, she is the avatar of right-wing cancel culture and entitlement culture because she's always entitled to her own truth that she fabricates. She's entitled to her own medical degree. She's entitled to her own ability to be a complete hypocrite and calls out everybody else for just being consistent.
Yeah, She's just awful, and we have to get her and everyone like her out of government.
And calling out the people on the left for being like crazy left wingers, like AOC and the Squad, when those folks are just advocating for like paid family leave and stuff that we probably should have in America, and healthcare and negotiating lowering drug prices. But then on the right, you got them saying like we should essentially ban anyone on the left from America.
100%. By the way, while those are our garbage people, we are going to do a community garbage person. It's going to be announced after the end of the year. It only seemed fair, but right now there is a poll up on our community tab on YouTube at The Damage Report, asking you who you think the ultimate garbage person of 2021 was, and your choices as of right now are Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, the Manchinima, Fox News as a whole, the tech billionaires, the insurrectionists, and the QAnon Congress members. So there's still a lot of time for those votes to change. So go and have your voice be heard, and we will reveal it on the next Fantastic Monday. With that, Brett, thank you for joining us throughout 2021. It's been great having you here.
Happy New Year. Watch the Young Turks later today. It's gonna be great.
Brett's gonna be on it.
I'm gonna be on it.
Definitely watch
Francesca's gonna be on it.
Got the New Year's Stream and Eve party coming up on the 31st. Everyone watch that.
We're giving away $120 in Shop TYT merchandise, so please participate. And again, that's Brooke and me, really not Photoshop. We'd had a whole photo shoot. I own that tuxedo.
Awesome. Okay, with that, thank you, Brett. Thank you, everyone, for supporting the show throughout the year. We do have big plans for next year, like the show continuing against all odds. So look forward to that. But until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome into Indisputable. It's Adrienne Lawrence filling in again for Dr. Richie, and it happens to be New Year's Eve, and I like that because it's also the 99th show, so this is very, very exciting. And to essentially up the ante, we have for you today Nina Turner, the Force. Thanks for joining us today, Nina.
It's good to be here with you, Adrienne. A little black girl magic going on.
Yes. Absolutely. I really think that this is what TYT Indisputable needs to close out the year, because we got this shine, so I can dig it.
Come on.
Yes, well, we are gonna bring it through all day for you today, especially in this next hour and a half. And let's go ahead and start with something that is on the minds of many of individuals out there, or actually not, just really Majorie Taylor Greene. The Georgia representative is renewing calls for a national divorce. Yeah, that's right. She wants to split up the nation. She wants to divide it between kind of an East-West coast, and then also tax Californians and New Yorkers at kind of different rates if they move to red states. Check out her tweet here. Majorie Taylor Greene said, in response to a post by Pedro L. Gonzalez, all possible in a national divorce scenario. After Democrat voters and big donors ruin a state like California, you would think it wise to stop them from doing it to another great state like Florida. Brainwashed people that move from California to New York really need a cooling off period. Wow, that's such a special thing to say, in part because, hey, there are so many things that are, let's say, maybe contributing factors that people in Cali and New York bring to the table. So to think that they in some way should be punished, penalized, or should need to cool off is kind of silly. Also, something interesting, the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia, well, it found that actually Majorie Taylor Greene may not necessarily be alone in this, because 52% of Trump voters and 41% of Biden voters also endorse splitting up the nation. This is really strange, weird, and also kind of a little bit illegal, at least for that cooling down period thought. The thought that, hey, you can't vote, you need a cooling down period until you acclimate to the political climate in which you live. That's not how the law works. You can move to a place, establish residency and be able to vote. And also the whole thing of let me tax you different because you're from a different place, also kind of unconstitutional. But it seems that Majorie Taylor Greene really just is cool with trimming some fat off the Constitution in terms of people's actual rights. I'm not really down for this in terms of splitting up or necessarily taxing people differently or delaying their rights to vote. Nina, what do you think?
We need a divorce, all right, and that divorce is from Congresswoman Majorie Taylor Greene. This is more of her insanity. Not surprised, she will do anything to get attention other than standing up for the people and doing the things that are necessary to change their material conditions. It's just really about her right now. It is an asinine idea to want to do this. And it's just another thing I would think, Adrienne, to really take our eyes to get people not to focus in on the main things. Don't look at the woman behind the curtain here. Look at this foolishness over there. And we got COVID we got to deal with. We got to deal with this new variant. People are overburdened. They're sick. They're not able to, afford time off. I mean, you name it, it is happening to everyday American people. And here she is playing games about who lives in New York and California and who lives in other parts of the country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just nonsense on nonsense on nonsense. It's like she just has to make sure that we end this year on a note of being asinine. And I don't get it, but the thing is, this is also not the first time she's done this. She's tweeted out multiple times about, having some kind of secession. She put up this poll in October asking people, what would they like? Should America have a national divorce? Yes, by red and our Republican and Democratic states. No, stay together, which got 48%, and then undecided. And the thing is, all she continues to do is to push this narrative to get people thinking that, oh, well, we can just split up. It's that easy, as if we are not intertwined. Something we'll talk a little bit about later. But also, the interesting thing is that it's not necessarily just Majorie Taylor Greene out there, as there are other Republicans. What we have, as we've seen, Thomas Massie out of Kentucky. This is what he posted on Twitter earlier this month. He asked, has secession ever succeeded? One of my freshman classmates at MIT from Bronx Science NYC didn't know West Virginia was a state. He thought it was just a region of Virginia. Most people know it's a state, but few know it's seceded from Virginia. It's a story that's not often told. I definitely say that he's right. It is a story that's not often told, because it involves actual slavery and what white people were willing to do to maintain control over the largely Black populace that were enslaved. And so because, hey, we are as an American people, we're generally averse to acknowledging the ills of our past. It seems to be something that other people are game on. And we do really want to kind of acknowledge the fact that experts realize that it's possible that we could have another civil war. Dr. Barbara Walter of UCSD, who really studies these hot spots like Syria, and she helps run a blog on political violence. Well, she said that the US really meets several of the telltale signs that are a part of the road to insurgency, as though January 6th wasn't enough. But this is essentially what she said here. She said, no one wants to believe that their beloved democracy is in decline or headed toward war. If you were an analyst in a foreign country looking at events in America, the same way you look at events in Ukraine or the Ivory Coast or Venezuela, you would go down a checklist assessing each of the conditions that make civil war likely. And what you would find is that the United States, a democracy founded more than 2 centuries ago, has entered very dangerous territory. And as we previously covered, that 3 retired US generals also issued a warning of their own, fearing that potentially there would be a split and the military might play a role in that, and there could be a civil war stemming from it. So we've seen that they've pointed to signs of potential turmoil in our armed forces, and noted that a disturbing number of active duty members of the military took part in the Capitol riot, accounting for more than 1 in 10 people charged. The potential for a total breakdown of the chain of command along partisan lines from the top of the chain to squad level is significant should another insurrection occur. The idea of rogue units organizing among themselves to support the rightful, quote unquote, commander in chief cannot be dismissed. Without question, this is something we can't ignore. Nina?
Yeah, no, it is serious. And January 6th was just a reminder that here we're about to come up on an anniversary, if you will. I hate to even call it an anniversary, but we will come face to face with January 6th again here shortly. And we do have to have a recognition in this country. And it's not just about Mr. Trump becoming president, although his presidency did bring up the things that I think were buried deep up to the surface. It is absolutely possible. And because of leaders like him, because of leaders like Congresswoman Majorie Taylor Greene and others who continue to stoke this flame and feed this type of poison to the American people, absolutely it is possible that something like that could happen again. And we do have to do everything that we can to not let something like that happen.
Absolutely. Either protecting our democracy, because, the fact is what our, at least if we consider Majorie Taylor Greene's thoughts, our options are stay together and fix what we have going on, or divorce. And the thing is that if we were to actually divorce and entertain that, it would end up that it'd be Black and brown people who suffer the most. Roughly 55% of the Black population in the US lives in the South and Southeastern states, which are largely red. And so the fact is that the vote of Black voters generally has largely been disenfranchised to begin with. So if we were to divide ourselves, we'd end up essentially putting a lot of the Black population in the United States in the turmoil that our ancestors lived through, where they would continue to be oppressed.
Right, and as you can see, I mean, you're pointing out, I just want to add another layer to that. When we look at state legislatures all across this country, that the Democratic Party, for example, has not protected that flank in making sure that the requisite investments were made to encourage people to run. And so Republicans certainly control more state legislatures, more governor's mansions in this country. And that is really where we are seeing the erosion of rights, be it voting rights, women's reproductive rights, right to work states, which really means right to work less. Those things that impact the material conditions of the overwhelming majority of people in this country, and as you point out, where most Black and brown people are, and then where poor people are from all racial and ethnic groups. These losses, this erosion of democracy is happening primarily on the state level. So we got to get a clue really, really quickly and try to get more people who have a conscious mind about what it takes to build this country and to build it together into these offices. But it is absolutely a sin and a shame to be in the 21st century in America and having people who are elected to office not only try to separate us, but also use public policy to make it harder to vote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, thank you so much. You are hitting on the points, and nobody lets you stop. Forgive me. You know, you can't control kids these days. Anyways, yeah, and before we wrap that up, because I'm Cali born and raised, you know, I also got to say to Majorie Taylor Greene, you need to get real. You know, California is about to have a historic $31 billion surplus budget. It's on pace to have so much money that it could exceed a constitutional limit on state spending. Yet Florida's got a meager $7 billion. The fact is that Cali contributes 15% of the national GDP. Florida can't even hit 5%. So it's like, don't even talk to me about splitting up the union, because if so, the nation of California will be living and the California love will be real. But anyways, we are going to move on to what is going on down south that is also just reflective of the carceral state in which we live, which is problematic. We have this shocking story that comes out of Virginia that showcases that inhumane aspect of the carceral state. After serving nearly 2 decades of their almost 2,000-year sentence, there is a man finally getting released. Let me show you the picture of this man here. This man, Lawrence Stevens, in 2001, he was sentenced to 1,823 years in prison for a home invasion and robbery, even though nobody was hurt. Now, this is the backstory. It's courtesy of the Atlanta Black Star. On November 13th, 2001, a then 18-year-old Stevens was homeless, working 2 jobs with a baby on the way, according to Rebecca Wynn, the Hampton, Virginia NCAA legal redress and criminal justice chairperson. She says, while working at his restaurant at the time, Stevens and another Black employee were talked into breaking into a house and committing a robbery. An older white coworker masterminded the robbery, but never went inside the home. They ended up taking off the top of my head, $500 and maybe a gun, Wynn said. There were 5 co-defendants in all, but the white participants in the robbery received standard sentences, averaging 10 to 13 years, as the Black co-defendants received harsher sentences. Darnell Nolan, who was 17 years old at the time, received a 35-year prison sentence, and Stevens received 1,823 years. The 2 Black teens, their sentencing greatly exceeds that of the sentencing guidelines and that of their white co-defendants, Wynn said of the lopsided prison sentences. Wynn says sentencing guidelines are put in place to reduce bias, but this judge had a long track record of delivering harsher sentences to Black men. Wynn would not go as far to say that Judge Smiley was racist, but she said the history speaks for itself. And that judge died in 2008, but luckily for Stevens, he wasn't gonna die in prison if Wynn could get that chance to get him out. And on December 17th, 2021, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam went ahead and granted Stevens conditional pardon requests. That was just the other day. But the thing is that his exact conditions of the pardon are not necessarily clear at this time, but we do know that he has been pardoned, even if conditionally, which is a very powerful stance and a powerful point. Nina, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is sad commentary on the legal system that is operating exactly as it was designed to operate. Justice is not blind, because she certainly sees Black people, brown people, and poor people very clearly. This is yet another example that not only do we have to clean up, have policing reform, because we talk a lot about that, but we have to have total, not reform, transformation of the legal system that does treat historically and even right now to this very day. We don't even got to go back all the way back in time, Adrienne. We can talk about right now, which we are. It does treat Black people differently. The sentencing is different. The weight of the law is reflected differently if you are Black, if you are brown, and certainly if you are poor, because the rules of engagement for this entire system, be it political, social, economic, or environmental, it was not written by the common people. It was written by and for the people who have all of the power. And until we are willing to face the racial biases, the anti-Blackness of this nation, we cannot correct any of these ills until we have the confession.
That's absolutely right. We need that, which is also why we're seeing the opposition out there fighting so hard to confront our history, to confront our reality. And the thing is that such excessive sentencing toward Black men in particular, it's not just limited to Virginia. We also recently are seeing it right now in Louisiana. There was a big Huffington Post piece that just recently came out. And the interesting part, let me read that from you, is it explained that 2 longtime Louisiana inmates who expected to serve 10 years and 6 months behind bars, well, they remain incarcerated decades later. They may soon go free under deals with New Orleans prosecutors. At the time, state law laid out a process for Louisiana prisoners with life sentences to apply for a commutation after 10 and a half years. And legal experts say that most got out under those rules, but then state lawmakers tightened the requirements. Now let's look at these 2 inmates that are hopefully gonna get out. These are the former inmates. Their names are Leroy Griffin, he's on the left, and Lewis Mitchell on the right. Now, what we do know is that Louisiana dropped parole altogether for life prisoners in 1979, which tells you that, hey, these people that are being incarcerated now, they don't even have a chance to necessarily redeem themselves. And we also know from the Huffington Post piece is that the 2 men are among roughly 60 Louisiana prisoners who expected a chance to get out after 10 years and 6 months, but now they remain incarcerated. They range in age from 66 to 86. Most were convicted of murder and the rest rape. More than 50 of them are Black. This tells us a lot about what our carceral state looks like and who is suffering the most. The fact that the goalposts are being moved for these inmates who may have thought that they have a chance to rehabilitate themselves and to return to society, and that has been taken from them. Nina?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have to figure out as a nation, are we going to continue to be the nation? We incarcerate more people than any other nation on the face of the earth. Is this going to continue to be our future? Just because it's the reality today doesn't mean it has to be reality tomorrow. And what does a real criminal justice system look like? Because we don't have that right now. With private prisons, I just believe that people should not be able to make a profit off of other people's misery. We need to do away with private prisons. We talk a lot about in our community the school to prison pipeline, as well as they are feeding in and creating environments in this country where it's ready-made to keep that beast called the prison going and going and going, and not really giving people the opportunity. Look, you commit a crime, you're convicted, you serve your time, you should be able to come out and to see your life anew. Now, we do know that there are some people, a small segment of the population, people who are very brutal, that maybe should never ever see the light of day. But otherwise, most people are going to get out. And what we find in most cases, Adrienne, that this system that has been created, it makes people worse when they come out, not better when they come out. And most importantly, we have to admit to ourselves that the system has a triple standard when it comes to Black people, and especially Black men. This cannot stand. We must absolutely change this system if we want to talk about justice in all of its forms.
Absolutely, yes, you hit the nail on the head. And you know what, you are absolutely right when it comes to prison privatization, because the only profiting off of misery that I actually endorse and allow for is what they call alimony. Now, we will be back very shortly. We will see you. Stick and stay.
Nearly half of Americans are working in low-wage jobs that pay the median annual wages of $18,000.
If these corporations actually paid people what they need to live so they're not being subsidized by the government, then the government wouldn't have to subsidize it.
Your taxpayer dollars are going to sustain this $7.25 minimum wage. You are paying to get paid minimum wage. And if you're not making minimum wage, you're paying for other people to get paid minimum wage.
Wages have not gone up in 40 years. Adjusted for inflation, 40 years. Meanwhile, by the way, productivity is sky high. Do you know that if your wages kept up with productivity, how hard you're working, in other words, the minimum wage right now would be over $20 an hour. Corporations buy off politicians and use their corporate power to make sure you get paid less and they make more profit. That's how this scam is played. Viewers had asked for an interview with the TYT Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Oh, you changed colors today. Nice. I don't even know how you feel about us. Do you even like us?
Well, you guys made me this awesome house, so I'm kind of in your debt. I was found outside on the street, and you gave me a home. Granted, it was a really crappy home for a while, but then through the power of fundraising, I became a person who has a multi-level Trump-style mansion.
You do. By the way, you never looked better, man. Normally, you're just green or just brown, but today you're in mid-lizard, right?
I'm not very smart. I'm a lizard, so I don't know how the science works. I guess this is just my mood. It's not every day that thresholds like this are broken. I'm just so excited. I can't contain my pigmentation.
And now you're showing it off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen the lizard like this before.
The concept of the Young Turks means the audience, they are the Young Turks. They are the go-getters. They are the ones making the emphatic change happen in their local community. The reality is that we've always, young and the not so young, we've always cared about news. But when you do not see the messengers of the news look like you, when they do not share your experiences, exposures, and environment, and there's a disconnect between you and the news. I lecture in mass communications. One thing I tell all of my students, there is no such thing as non-biased news. It never has been. Non-biased news has always been an illusion. Let's go back to the 60s and 70s, where people would say that was the purity of non-biased news. News has a segment. That segment has a time. That time, you must do your story and be finished. That means the producer, the writer, the orator has to take out what they don't think is important and only leave in what they believe is important. They have a limited time to tell the story. They do not have time to tell everybody's version or everybody's side. And they get to choose the facts that they bring to you, as well as the nuance, which really is a word for opinion, that they bring to you, the context they bring to you. So we've always had a level of bias in news. Here's the issue. The issue is to not deceive individuals as if you don't have some level of opinion with your news commentary. And that's what TYT has never done. They've always been authentic in their approach to progressive ideology and their news analysis and political breakdown. And I think that's how you actually win the heart and soul of individuals who are consuming information from you, because now they see themselves in you.
Welcome back to TYT's Indisputable. Adrienne Lawrence filling in for the incorrigible Dr. Richie. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what's going down tomorrow, which is New Year's Eve. Well, we won't have any live programming because it is New Year's Eve, but you can catch up on Indisputable and your favorite TYT shows by checking us out on TYT.com. And also, we will be back first thing Monday in that 2022 year. Also, join Brett Ehrlich and Brooke Marks for a New Year's stream and Eve party on Twitch. You can go to twitch.tv/TYT. Plus, there's going to be a Shop TYT giveaway. Join them at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. There's also a Shop TYT sale of the year with 25% off site-wide. That's big. Also, my book is in there, so definitely check that out. Staying in the Game. Got to give it a shout out. And you're going to celebrate that near year end with some Dragon Squad merchandise too at shoptyt.com, as well as get that indisputable gear. You know you need it. And spend sustainably with Aspiration. Since 2020, Aspiration's Plant Your Change community has already committed to planting over 33 million trees and counting. Plant Your Change allows you to plant a tree on every purchase by rounding up to the nearest dollar. This is an opt-in program. Check it out at aspiration.com/TYT. Also, coming up on The Conversation, I think I might be on it. You're gonna wanna watch it live at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific at tyt.com/live before the Young Turks. Make sure you subscribe and watch all interviews at youtube.com/TYT Conversation. Now let's go ahead and see what y'all had to say. So with the TYT members on tyt.com about Majorie Taylor Greene's idea of a divorce to the nation, HR Cat 2 and Denonian says, I'm starting to think that MTG is a German performance artist that is just seeing how far can it go. This can't be real. Occam's Taser says the GOP is too busy infighting to organize a civil revolt. It wouldn't last a day before they started turning the guns on themselves over something trivial. Yeah, that sounds pretty right. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Nina hit the nail on the head. Yep. Yes, racism, hate, and violence were always here. But Trump not only gave permission for those to come out in the open, he also gave permission for them to act on that hate. He's been calling for violent action since he descended from on high on his golden escalator. Yeah, golden escalator and golden toilet where he should have stayed. JMD. California is the largest economy in the US, 5th in the world. New York's economy is the 3rd largest in the US, no problem. All those welfare red states will fall into ruin without Cali and New York's assistance. Those are just facts. Now, YouTube Super Chat, Forbeszilla with the $5 donation, appreciate it. I'm all about this intense Black woman power. This is the Power Hour. So much brains and beauty on one screen. Love you, ladies. Thank you, Forbeszilla. I see that your vision is 2020. We both thank you. Trudy Lawrence with the $10 donation says Civil War, so my Black brother and sister stay woke and safe because Karens and these insurrection folks are crazy. Ain't that the truth? Out there on Twitch about MTG's divorce idea. Well, Yeetwood Max says the divorce is scary for the main reason that a lot of innocent people would get stuck in the wrong place for the same reason they already can't move to a better location. We don't need a divorce. We need a government that accurately represents the people. That is right. And D. Kashmar says these two women are so smart. We are truly lucky to have their insights on what is happening. Thank you, May. Neon Death 07. We like kitties here, Adrienne. It's the internet. Do not encourage him. He is over here snoring. All right, about the man sentenced to 1,800 years. I believe this is Alejandra Maldonado Mexia says, TBH, all judges must be screened for bias. Go through a series of mock trials in order to determine their bias before putting them on the bench, and bars should be extremely more strict of what they have been so far. Yeah, I know. Yeah, as a licensed practitioner, I can tell you, I agree. But unfortunately, our society is not really looking to weed out bias. And speaking of bias, we are going to see this incredible Karen clip that I will show you momentarily. And to give you a little backdrop, while on his delivery route, there was a Black FedEx driver who was filming this encounter with a strange couple. Apparently, this is quite common for him.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Life of a Black FedEx driver in Louisiana.
I'm going to feel like this, what?
I'm about to call FedEx on you.
You want the number?
What?
You want the number?
I don't need no number. You want to fight? We'll go down the road, bitch. I'll beat your bitch ass up. I really live like this, boy. Want to do something?
Oh, Lord.
Get out of here.
I got deliveries to make.
You're stop flying through here, bitch.
Ooh.
No.
Hey, Merry Christmas to y'all, though. Hey, this is the everyday life of a FedEx guy, a Black FedEx guy at that, man.
I swear, it's just like people can't even work without being assaulted by people and their racism. What is going on here, Nina?
That man deserves a raise. I mean, really. And I wonder, I don't know, Adrienne, I wonder, was that couple drunk? I mean, it doesn't excuse their behavior. I think when people get intoxicated, it just brings out more of who you already are, to be quite honest. But they seem a little, either they off or they're drunk.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but that you're absolutely right about that FedEx man deserving a raise. You know, he's trying to deliver packages, and you got these people out here trying to get him to deliver these hams, which I would deliver. It's like, don't roll up to me in my truck. I will show you what's up. And it is kind of interesting that man without his shirt on was trying to pretend he stays ready, and his wife kind of holding him back. Psh, if that delivery FedEx man would have gotten out of that truck, it would have been a whole different ballpark.
Oh yeah, it was just a clown show. That one was just a clown show. I don't even know what those two were thinking. But even to have the driver say, "Welcome to my life," basically, this is what I go through. I mean, if we just stick on that point just for a little bit, it does remind us that we have to forever stay vigilant in fighting against racism in all of its forms, anti-Blackness in particular. And this kind of stuff is not cute. It really, this is problematic.
Exactly. And the fact that, if they were in a different neighborhood, maybe one that was more affluent, and you had white people acting this way, the thought that they could call police or that they could report that man in his job in some way and essentially disrupt his livelihood or his freedom. It's like, these are the factors that we as Black people consider when we are just trying to do our jobs or living our lives on a daily basis.
That's right. This is not a game. And I mean, and imagine if the police did come. Not saying that something always has to turn into a violent encounter for African Americans, but it could. We understand that it could. This is serious. This is real. It has happened to too many people. And so folks should not play games with talking about calling the police on folks, especially on Black men. It can be a very dangerous encounter, and it can determine life and death in too many cases.
Absolutely. Yep. And so let's go ahead and turn to what is also going on in this unfortunate racist world. So we've seen many responses to CRT, critical race theory, but in response to this, I guess, response presented in the educational schooling arena is just kind of shocking. So there's homeschooling parents now being given the opportunity of having this new resource concerning children's curriculum. It's online learning on how to maintain white well-being. Check this out right here. So the website that has presented it is called School of the West. And this school wants to help you understand how we can essentially make sure that white people and white children in particular are emotionally safe and sound. So this is the write-up on this from the Daily Beast. So a write-up on the contents of an upcoming 3-month live-streamed white well-being course advertised for students ages 4 and older explains that it will help children understand the gift of being born a member of Western kind and the qualities that separate us from the other races. In case it wasn't clear, the write-up clarifies that the white race is known as Western kind. It also promises to teach them how to spot and respond to the anti-white propaganda that supposedly suffuses modern life, why white people are the only true citizens of Western nations, and how feminism destroys the family unit, the supposed backbone of all Western kind, thus weakening our societies. This blatant white nationalist ideology is infused into some of the site's lessons on conventional subjects as well. Its history materials, for example, falsely teach that the notion European colonization led to the spread of new diseases that decimated indigenous populations is not established historical fact, but an anti-white myth. The school also linked to the Institute for Historical Review as a reliable online source for the study of history. By the way, this Institute for Historical Review notoriously publishes materials that push for Holocaust denial and anti-Semitic readings of history, using the language and formatting of conventional academia, but none of its rigor. And the school's life sciences materials are just a series of 7 videos and attendant worksheets on the supposed science of human racial differences, which deliver a series of thoroughly debunked pseudoscience arguments as if they were hard facts. Now, this is very, very scary out there. The fact that they are now marketing this indoctrination of children into white supremacy, also misogyny, and it really just kind of seems like it's something that we have seen, but just not necessarily on this level. Nina, your thoughts?
Adrienne, I sigh. I just, these people have lost their ever-loving minds. I mean, that is what the facts are. All of a sudden, teaching the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't even talk about critical race theory is not taught in K through 12. Hell, it is barely taught in college. It is a specialization, and it's usually taught in law school. So let's get that straight. But I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. The very fact that in this nation, that some people wanna walk around as if what happened in this country, the taking of the indigenous people's land, that happened, Adrienne, we're not making this up, that's real. Stole these folks' land, enslaved our ancestors. This stuff is real. Treated women like second-class citizens, didn't get the right to vote till the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. We can go on and on and on. And so you mean to tell me that disrupts the well-being of white children to be able to be taught the truth about America's history? Hell, all of us need to be taught the truth about America's history. And again, understanding the past so that we can create a better future. So this ain't about critical race theory, Adrienne. These people are using that as a cloak to do some of the things they wanted to do all along. I mean, it reminds me very much of the 19th century doctrine of manifest destiny, that it was the destiny of white folks in the Western world to colonize and imperialize all other areas and create those areas in their image. Ooh, don't get me started on this stuff. It just boggles my mind. Are we in the 21st century or are we in the 18th century? I'm still trying to understand.
We're regressing on the regular. These people want us to regress. It's the thought of, let's go ahead and have history repeat itself. And thus we are going to do that by virtue of the fact that we're not going to teach it. We are going to essentially shape it in a way that essentially makes white people continue to be the heroes and having done right and done good, as opposed to just simply acknowledge facts so that we can hopefully not repeat it. But nope, not gonna happen. It's just people don't have the courage to recognize, in part because they're still involved in a lot of the racism and oppression that they claim ended years, decades, centuries ago. And when it came to accountability, the Anti-Defamation League and the Daily Beast, what they did is they tried to track down the owner of this website who was selling this material. And they were able to find this. On the site, he goes by Brant Danger, but the Anti-Defamation League extremism researcher Mark Pitcairn in the Daily Beast, well, what they have done is they've identified him as Brant Williams, who until this spring was a teacher in the majority Native American Page Unified School District, which serves Page, Arizona and surrounding areas. A representative for PUSD told the Daily Beast that Williams left of his own volition at the end of this last school year. The representative said they weren't aware of his work on the quote unquote School of the West. So pretty much in Arizona, which does have a high number of white supremacists to begin with, this gentleman is working with indigenous children. And as an educator, while also running this essentially homeschooling academic white supremacy model. And this gentleman, Mr. Williams, well, he didn't respond to efforts to actually the repeated efforts of the Daily Beast to reach him for comment on this story. But this is what the Daily Beast noted. They noted that experts on homeschooling and white nationalism alike say that his school actually reflects longstanding efforts to indoctrinate children into extremism. It's just far more blatant, visible, and organized than many past extremist homeschooling endeavors. Amy Cooter, a sociologist who studies white nationalism and grew up in a private Southern Baptist church school with connections to far-right homeschooling groups, argued the school's blatant racism is not a naive mistake, but a logical step in larger efforts to bring white nationalist ideas into mainstream consciousness. Yeah, definitely seems like they are putting efforts out there to indoctrinate children so that they can create a next generation of white supremacists. Nina.
I mean, you summed it up, and it is something that I know it is really hard for many of us to believe that this is happening, but it is happening, and we all have a role to play in making sure that we educate ourselves, we educate our family, our friends, that we make sure that we are having these conversations. There is absolutely nothing wrong with telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us, God, about the founding of this nation and also the systems that continue to be an entire hindrance to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness for so many people, period. And you don't overcome a thing by pretending like it didn't happen. So I just really do not understand these folks.
Yeah, neither do I at all. But they're one of those things where we just realize we cannot continue to wait for them to get it together. What we can do is hold people accountable. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story. So in the wake of Ghislaine Maxwell's verdict, that was Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, the BBC brought on quite the controversial legal analyst to really break down the British socialite's 5-count conviction involving child sex trafficking for the late billionaire Epstein. Well, that analyst was none other than Epstein's former attorney, Alan Dershowitz, who also happened to be accused of being involved by way of having sex with one of those underage girls that Epstein was essentially providing to his friends. Now, the BBC, well, they didn't really handle it as well. But here we go, per the Washington Post. When interviewed on the BBC News channel on Wednesday, Dershowitz was introduced simply as a constitutional lawyer. He then was allowed to attack Giuffre's credibility without challenge from the presenter, because Virginia Roberts Giuffre was was a woman that came forward and said that essentially she was forced to have sex with Dershowitz. Well, the appearance on social media was denounced by the public and legal experts as totally inexcusable, with many calling on the BBC to explain why Dershowitz came on air. Dershowitz also appeared on Fox News on Wednesday, but that network specified his connection to the case. Fox News at least acknowledged Dershowitz's connections with Epstein, wrote journalist Aaron Rupar. Unfathomable that the BBC thought this was a good idea. The Labour MP, Nadia Whitcomb, tweeted, Alan Dershowitz, who was accused of the same crimes as Prince Andrew, is on the BBC trying to silence victims following Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction. I can't believe this needs to be said, but the BBC should not give a platform to people accused of child sexual abuse, she added. We have a responsibility to believe people when they disclose sexual abuse and to create conditions in which they can in the first place. All details of Epstein's network should be published and all victims, survivors are owed justice. This is clearly the tip of the iceberg. And as the BBC posted in response to the backlash, they issued this statement. Last night's interview with Alan Dershowitz after the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict did not meet the BBC's editorial standards, as Mr. Dershowitz was not a suitable person to interview as an impartial analyst, and we did not make the relevant background clear to our audience. We will look into how this happened. Nina, how does this look to you?
Yeah, I mean, they should have never had him commenting, period. I mean, that's just it. There are many legal analysts that could have talked about this case. They did not have to pick him. So I'm glad that there was backlash, and I'm glad that the BBC just said, hey, this didn't meet our standards. Oops, we made a mistake, and we need to make sure that we don't make this kind of mistake ever again.
Yes, exactly. These are just mistakes that really just, it's like, how do you even get here? Alan Dershowitz has been accused of being among the men that was raping these young girls that Epstein and Maxwell were trafficking. So how are you actually going to bring him on TV to talk about the verdict? It's like, get out of here.
Yeah, make it make sense. We can't make it make sense because it makes no sense. And it was really reckless and irresponsible on their part to do this.
And then on top of that, when you think about the fact that we have Ghislaine Maxwell now definitely going to prison on those 5 counts on which she was convicted. Yet, where are all the men in this? It was the men who were raping these girls and trafficking them and participating in all these things. Yet they are wealthy, they are white, and they are not here. So what is going on? We know who many of them were. They've been identified as being in Epstein's circle. But again, it's like privilege is keeping them from being in handcuffs and having an 8x9 cell just the same.
Well, if they went after her, they need to go after them as well. She definitely played a role. And I'm not saying that she needs to go down too. But these men, you're absolutely right. They need to call them to account as well. It's both and. Yeah,
exactly. It's not whataboutism. This is about justice. And the fact that I'm just tired. Like it's like, nah, these men can't be running this street knowing damn well that they were out here victimizing these girls. Like nobody has time for this. Go ahead and just hold them accountable and put them in a cleaner cell if we need to. If we feel you needed to, acknowledge their privilege and elitism, give them like an extra toilet. I don't know, but just put them away. That's all I need. But in the meantime, we need to take a break and we will see you momentarily.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey. Hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitsing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We are entering the last stretch of the last Indisputable for the 2021 year. And I want you to remember that because tomorrow's New Year's Eve, that there will be no live programming tomorrow, but you can catch more of your favorite TYT shows as well as episodes of Indisputable going to tyt.com. And we will be back first thing on Monday. Also, Twitch has a New Year stream. That's Brett Ehrlich, Brooke Marks, they will be there for the party. Plus, there's going to be a Shop TYT giveaway. You just have to head over to twitch.tv/TYT. And that starts at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, or 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Also, do not miss out on Shop TYT's last sale of the year. 25% off site-wide, that is huge. And it also includes my book, Staying in the Game, so hook yourself up. Celebrate the new year with some Dragon Squad merchandise at shoptyt.com, as well as some Indisputable merchandise. You need to get it. Wish a Karen would. Also, I wish you would. Go ahead and head over to aspiration.com/TYT. Why? Because spending sustainably with aspiration is really what we need in 2022. You plant your change. That allows you to plant a tree on every purchase by rounding up to the nearest dollar. And this is an opt-in program and it is a winner. So definitely be a part of it. So let's go ahead and see what you all have to say out there. So on tyt.com, for those members out there about the FedEx driver, Beer Dragon says, white racist dude would not last past the first punch. Laughable. So true. He really acted like he stayed ready, please. On the anti-CRT curriculum, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, OMG, the right-wing talk about the left indoctrinating children. This is horrendous. Naughtiness Maximus says, brought to you by the Hitler Youth of America. We're right because we're white. Yikes. Colorado Blue Blazer Regular says, seriously, TYT, don't let these quote unquote companies spread their racism. Find the pictures and names and every bit of info about the people who publish this and scream it from the mountaintops. These racists need to be hounded from society. I don't have a problem with it. So for YouTube Super Chat, $4.99 from Chaplain Fred, AKA Prayer Dragon. Miss Turner and Miss Lawrence, please have a blessed and a graceful New Year's. All of the love, grace, and peace to you and your families. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Trudy Lawrence, $5. Hey, FedEx, can my brother get some Karen repellent? Please, yes, get him something. I don't know what they need, but they need to get away from that man. Also, Bernie the Kiwi Dragon with those 10 pounds. I instantly thought of Yes from Gulliver's Travels watching the Karen couple. May the New Year stink less, but we are off to a good start just because you will be back speaking truth to justice. Absolutely. On Twitch, Icom's Tasseri says, geez, I'm glad he can have fun with the situation about that FedEx driver. And Alice Ken's now Dragon 2021. Those two were dressed for a trip to Walmart. Yikes. I can definitely tell you they need to stay in the house as much as possible. And as kind of does this woman, that's the Arizona gubernatorial candidate, Kari Lake. During a campaign event, she went on a rant about teaching sex ed, in public schools, really claiming that it's even more absurd than schools allegedly teaching Marxism. Check this out.
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
Our children are being taught Marxism at school. They're being taught sex education in a curriculum that's 102 pages long. I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I'm in my 50s. I'm not gonna go directly and tell you how old I am. I know a little bit about how babies are made, and it doesn't take 102 pages of sex education to explain that. And it shouldn't be taught in 102 pages at school. We gotta take our curriculum back. I mean, what on earth are they teaching in 102 pages of sex ed? Marxism. It's a little crazier. It's as crazy, a little crazier than that.
You know, this candidate, Kari Lake, She seems more interested in wondering what's in those 102 pages. And also this thought that they shouldn't be teaching sex ed if it's 102 pages. We got to realize that the Kama Sutra is 130 pages. So clearly there's not enough education getting to these kids because there's 28 pages missing. But what I can tell you definitely is that this puritanical society, these notions, this ideology that people shouldn't know about their bodies, how they operate, it's nonsense. And I really wish it would go away. Nina?
How many pages does she want, Adrienne? Seriously, that's the question. How many pages would satisfy you? It is obvious that she has nothing else to do. No small businesses to help, no communities to lift, nothing to do to help change people's material conditions. She wants to sit here and pontificate about 102 pages of in a sex education class. Lady, please, get a life. And being elected certainly is not one of them. So, but seriously, inquiring minds want to know, how many pages is suitable, is acceptable, I should say, for her? I want to know.
Well, I think she only wants 2 pages, and they shouldn't have any kind of diagrams or graphics. It should be a coloring book, and it should say, I'm married to Jesus or something. I don't know, but what I do know is that
she the expert, right? She said she had kids, so she the expert on sex ed. That's what she said.
Yeah, that she knows how sex works.
She knows how it works. Yeah.
Okay, sure, boo. What we do know is sex ed, it's been shown to help to reduce the risk of adolescent pregnancy, HIV, sexually transmitted infections, diseases, so on and so forth, as well as just to improve people's lives and livelihoods. And the fact that, again, pushing this puritanical society stuff, and this is just, it's part of the patriarchy. It's gross. It's not helping us in any way, any form. And this woman is not hip to the game.
No, and it's never worked. And it's never going to work.
No, this abstinence mentality, it's like, come on, nobody got time for it. And then also Marxism, I would like to think that Karl Marx was down with OPP. Like, it's like, come on, we can do this all. I don't know. Nita, what you think?
Both and.
There you go. There you go. This is what Lake needs. But I know we need more individuals like you speaking out, using your voice and standing up, Nina, because you are absolutely incredible. And 2022 needs you. And I'm so excited. What do you got planned for New Year's?
Well, back at you, darling. Well, I want to say Happy New Year's to all of our viewers, our TYT family, to you and your family in our TYT team. They make it possible for people like you and people like me to be able to have audience, to tell these stories, to speak a certain type of truth, to learn and to grow and to enrich each other. So happy New Year. How about you, Adrienne? What you got on tap?
Oh, I ain't got nothing but trying to avoid, catching the Omarion virus. I'm gonna sit myself at home. Pour myself some bubbly and then just, keep people at a distance. That's my joy in life.
It sounds like a plan. Hopefully one of these days we will be able to be in closer proximity, but we all got a role to play in trying to tame this virus.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nina. Where can people find more of you in this 2022 new year?
My pleasure. Go to at Nina Turner on Twitter, on the gram, it's Nina Turner Ohio, and on Facebook, Nina Turner.
Awesome. Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will be back in just a moment.
I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I first got my license, like 17 years old or 17, 18, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think, my dad's Oldsmobile. And I parked it in a place where there was 2 cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was an even worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all 3 cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went boom, oh and this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the 3rd car, okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, for this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know.
Wow, there's a B?
Yeah, I'm like this, I hit 3 cars, I don't know. So you guys gotta come help me, okay? Okay, so 1, my bad, really sorry about that. Okay, number 2, can someone take my car out? Because I don't wanna keep hitting your cars and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot.
that fat, baby, move that fat. We thugged out.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning and that weren't afraid to say, hey, this is something that is legitimate.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
Brent Welder is very progressive Democrat. He's a just Democrat, in fact, uncorrupted, not going to take big corporate PAC money. When did you start watching the show and when did you become a member?
So I've been watching for 10 years, an active viewer, but also more importantly, getting out there with causes like Wolfpack.
By the end of our campaign, we had organized about 22,000 individual contributions with an average about $27 a piece. And those initial people were a lot of TYT supporters as well.
In looking at the world in a very different way than corporate media does.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
Thank you, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks.
Thank you to TYT and all the progressives around the country that have our backs.
You know, the first and only interviews that we had tonight to be with the Young Turks as well, because you guys have been here from the very beginning, and that's what this night is all about.
And I thank Cenk very much for the very good work that he does.
Thank you so much for all in this together, and the people are so powerful, and we're gonna get it done.
Thank you for your constant support.
It's a pleasure to be with rebels. I like that.
For all of the help that you've given to the Just Democrats, to Wolfpack, to help fellow progressives, thank you guys, to all the Young Turks members that make it possible.
Hey, this is Edwin. Most of you might recognize me, well, not me, mostly my laugh from the main show.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to get the Uygur maneuver on him.
And today, my talent is Rubik's Cubes. You gotta forgive me, it's been at least 5 years since I've competed. So that's why I'm actually going pretty slow. Watch this.
Welcome back to Indisputable. It is Adrienne Lawrence filling in for Dr. Richie, and it is nearing the end of the show. Well, I want to thank you all definitely for letting me fill in this week. I also am so incredibly excited for 2022. I want to wish you all a very happy new year, happy holidays, and happy progress, because we need to make change in this upcoming year. And so now upcoming is the bullpen, where you get to watch Killer Mike have a conversation with Dr. Richie about making meaningful change, particularly as it concerns members of the Black community. So enjoy it, and I'll see you in 2022.
Welcome to the bullpen. Because yesterday I had a guy on the bullpen who was so insane that I had to kick him off my show, Pastor Jesse Lee Peterson. I am not going to have a debate on this show today. I'm going to bring you a treat to make up for the disaster of yesterday. And I got my big homie, there's no debate. We agree on almost everything, and we A-Town down, my friend Killer Mike. What up, Killer?
All right, what's up, man? Jesse Lee Peterson was on here yesterday. Oh my God!
You got it. I'm gonna send you the YouTube clip. It literally, I kicked him off the show in like 3 minutes because he got horrible fast. I didn't think he'll get that horrible that fast. But I'll send you the link.
If you ever want to see something funny, watch. I think it's DC from 85 South did his show.
I saw it.
No.
It was
I
hilarious.
saw that interview. He clowned him. I mean, he turned the table on Jesse. It was
he
funny.
acted like a bad kid in middle school with a substitute teacher who didn't know what to do. It was amazing.
It was, man.
But
it's good to see you.
So I see Uncle Jesse at the barbecue too, on the other side, but I don't know about to really go.
There you go, right, exactly. Good to have you on the show. We only have a few minutes, man. Let's get right into it. You are so well known, not only for your entertainment, your rapping, but also, that's what I'm talking about, mobilizing, energizing, being on the right side of issues. And you have influenced so many people in the entertainment world and beyond to actually take their platforms more seriously to become advocates for social justice. Let's talk about Black entrepreneurship, something that you're big on as well. Right now you have legislation being stalled that could help Black businesses. You have policy discussions not being had because of the gridlock of our current politics. But let's talk about the reality of the Black economy and how a better Black economy is really a better economy for America.
Yeah, even I said that. I think in Bloomberg possibly with Leanne, who had but I said that, and the head of the feds in Atlanta said the exact same thing. A stronger Black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. So when people hear people supporting Black biz, things of that nature, don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you. We want the businesses to be owned by Black people, we want the lenders to be Black, but we want to provide services for the greater community. That's what we do. We just want to be able to be the chair on the leg on the chair that can hold up. We don't want to be the wobbly end. So no one think that's exclusive of them. It's inclusive of all. But Black business, let me tell Black people, whenever we've chosen to do business with one another and service ourselves in a greater community, we've done better. Our communities have been stronger. We had less crime. We had more fathers present in the community. We had greater freedoms, and we didn't have the oppressive amount of violence that we're experiencing in a lot of our communities now. Because a lot of our boys don't want to go to college and aren't being led to go to trade school. Trade school isn't just plumbing and carpentry and fixing stuff. It's owning your own business. It's being able to be someone who takes your products and services places and get the highest dollar amount. So I really think we need to take that seriously. I'm glad to be a part of something like Greenwood Banking. That's a banking platform that's going to roll out. That's not only going to allow people in banking deserts to have actual accounts, but eventually is going to grow to a lender for non-traditional businesses out of our community that the big three might not necessarily finance. And I'm proud to be a part of that because I've seen that work not only in Greenwood, Oklahoma, and Tulsa. I've seen it work on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta and Edgewood Avenue. I've seen it work in Harlem, New York, Inglewood in California. And I believe we can keep doing this the next 50, 100 years and start to close some of that economic gap and do more for ourselves.
Let me bring up something that is an actual policy bias. You already know there's this fight against critical race theory, which is simply the historical analysis of racism and how that racism connects to policy in America and our review of it. But there's this fight against it. But there is a policy, a recent policy from a bunch of money that was approved in the previous administration. So that COVID relief money bypassed Black business owners because it did not create a caveat, and I say it didn't bypass all of them, but sole proprietors in particular, because one, sole proprietors did not have the background or the paperwork necessary in order to apply for it, and the government did not create an avenue that said, here's how we're going to make sure you all can be part of this lump sum of money that we're putting out. The overwhelming reality is that Black businesses continue to be left out of massive policy to impact their economy. Yes. So what will it take, brother, to put the emphasis necessary to make sure we create a stronger Black ecosystem of financial support in our communities?
It's gonna take more than a federal holiday.
Come on, brother.
All right, so let's talk about, you got a federal holiday because an area where Blacks had built their own, for Blacks, by Blacks, and the greater community. The white community that was working class or poor got angry, aided by government to bomb and decimate that community. And we got a holiday, and I like any day off you give me, I can cook barbecue and drink some beer. But we are due more, and what we are due are land grants. We're do government done compete clause contracts, which we already have a provision for, and black democratic cities are not honoring those things in the way they should. And the federal government, the people you just got in the government, Joe and Kamala owe you something, and they owe you more. The people under the gold domes and representatives owe you more than a damn holiday. And I appreciate the day off now. I'm definitely gonna barbecue and I'm gonna sip some Hennessy. But you have, actually I'm gonna sip Johnny Walker Blue. Don't give me no cheap bottle. But we have to demand now policy that, like Yvette Carnell says, and I appreciate this sister saying this, the government owes you something. They owe you farmland, they owe you exclusive contracts, they owe you building rights when they're putting up this new infrastructure. So black people, when we send these people out, let's make sure that they bring something back. I'm telling Warnock this, I'm telling Ossoff this, I'm telling Biden this, I'm telling Kamala this, I'm telling Clyburn this, I'm telling anybody who will listen, who asks me for my black vote every 2 and 4 years, I need something in return, because the quicker we can do for ourselves, the freer we can be, and the better this country will be. And I want my people out there who might not disagree me. Who might not agree. The people who follow Jesse Lee Peterson, the people who listen to conservative radio, strong black economy equals us needing you less. And if we need you less, this whole country can start to grow in a better way. While kids will be better educated, will be better funded, your grandchildren to have something provided for them. So I implore all Americans to make sure that the black community is strong economically, so that our greater community can be by proxy. And in matters of critical race theory, my grandmother had a better word for it: the truth.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Teach that. I got criticized by a bunch of Democrats, by the way, when I said we don't send politicians to DC to give us holidays. Now, it's a good holiday, but that's not the goal. And it becomes antithetical to progress when you believe that you are winning because you got a holiday. Remember, the same Republicans help bring you that holiday. These same Republicans that help bring you that holiday are anti the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They're anti-HR 1. They are against the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. They are adversarial to the reparations study, HR 40. They are against every policy aimed at progress for black and brown and disenfranchised communities. They do not get a hero cookie because they passed a holiday. As I said, I agree with you, brother. It's not a bad thing, but it's not the goal. That is not the agenda.
And I'm gonna tell you this. Don't just look for the people who loudly against you. Look at the people who silently don't support you when it's time. See, because a lot of them silent people, you sit in the office. And then when it comes time to give you something, well, we didn't have enough across the aisle support. That's not why I sent you up there, sucker. I sent you up there to bring something home to your district. And if your district is a majority black district in a Democratic enclave, then I expect something more than a damn holiday.
And here's the other thing, man.
You gotta believe me on that. But we deserve it.
No, you good. You can use that here, brother. I've said worse. The other part of that is you got all of this, and I said earlier on the show, man, Nancy Pelosi playing games. We should have been had a select committee investigating what happened at January 6th, prosecuting individuals, even if they are elected officials who were involved. But here's the other game they play. They start saying we need to have a bipartisan way forward for the sake of bipartisanship. Well, those cats you work with did not elect you. We did not elect you to have a bipartisan agenda. We elected you to have our agenda. And as long as you keep saying we won't move forward without support from the other side, or we'd rather have support from our colleagues on the other side, that's not the spirit of politics, nor is it the spirit that you campaigned on. You told us you had a separate, unique, and different agenda than the people who were in power for 4 years.
When I show up with the bullet section, I'm with Rashad. I just want y'all to know that. I'm gonna let him do all the talking. I'm gonna let him take care of the business. I'm there as the goon. I'm gonna come up with my mask on.
Come on, bro. Come on, homie.
I really love and appreciate you and always telling our people the truth and just pushing forward. Thank you, Rashad. I'm very proud of you for the show, bro.
Man, thank you, brother. Iron sharp as iron. You know, we A-Town down. You're my big homie. You have inspired so many, including myself. And I appreciate you, man. Before I let you go, brother, how's the wife? How's the family?
She good. She ain't left me, so we good. The kids are good, thank God. And man, everything is amazing. We're proud to be still in business at the arena with the Hawks playing. We're proud that the swag shops are growing. I'm very happy to see progress happening on the ground. I'm seeing a lot of progressives on the ground organizing in Atlanta, and I'm just happy to be alive in this time with my contemporaries. Thank you for having me.
Brother, always a pleasure. Killer Mike, thank you, man.
Bye.